Hello everyone. Today we are going to go and review the third student in Strixhaven, Zimone Quandrix Prodigy. It is the new deck tech for it. Before we get into it though, I just wanted to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, if you go and follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jarvis_Moonbeam. Also on Twitch.tv/Jarvis_Moonbeam. And you can join my Discord by following the link in the description below. Zimone is a green and a blue. For a legendary human wizard, she's a 1/2. For 1 untapping her, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tap. And for 4 untapping her, draw a card. If you control 8 or more lands, draw 2 cards instead. So, I'm going to take it nice and simple. This is a simic ramp deck. All it wants to do is ramp. Nothing else. Ramp, ramp, ramp. So, let's get into the ramp. We have Azusa. She lets you play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. For Serve Crucifix, you have to play with the top part of your library revealed. You may play lands from the top of your library, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under control, you gain 1 life. Dread of the Legion Grove gives all your lands all basic land types, plus lets you play an additional land. Oracle Modiah, you can play an additional land on each of your turns. You play with the top part of your library revealed, and you may play lands from the top of your library. AEC Tyrant of Gyre Straits. You may play an additional land on each of your turns, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Nyx Bloom Ancient. When you tap a permanent for mana, it produces 3 times that much instead. Jazzy Oracle Arcavios and Journey to the Oracle. This is a little bit different. Jazzy has the ability that you can discard a card and return her to your hand, and it has Magecraft that if you cast an instant or a sorcery, reveal the top part of your library. If it's a non-land, you can cast it by only paying 1 generic rather than its mana cost. If it's a land, you can put it onto the battlefield. And Journey lets you put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield, and if you control 8 or more lands, you may discard a card and return Journey to its hand. So you can either go play Jadzi, realize you have a ton of cards in your hand, discard a card, return it to your hand, and then play Journey, or play Journey and then be able to play Jadzi. Either way. Explore, 1 and a green, play an additional land and then draw a card. Growth Spiral, draw a card and you can put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Nature's Lore, search your library for any forest card and put it into play. 3 Visits, same thing, search your library for a forest card. Cultivate, search your library for 2 basic lands, 1 onto the battlefield, 1 to your hand. Harrow, as an additional cost, you do have to sacrifice a land. That's not going to be a problem for us though. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and put them onto the battlefield. Kodama's Reach, same as Cultivate. Burgeoning, whenever an opponent plays a land, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Exploration, you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Training Grounds, this is a little bit different. This is discounts activated abilities of permanents creatures you control. So it makes her tap ability 2 and a tap to draw a card instead of 4. Her putting a land into the battlefield can't be discounted any further though, because it can't be discounted past 1. Now, here's pretty much the rest of the deck. Card draw, interaction, and other good stuff cards. Eternal Witness, you can return when it enters the battlefield, return target card from the graveyard to your hand. Ramonep Excavator lets you play lands from the graveyards. Reclamation Sage, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Seedborn Muse, untap all permanents controlled during each other player's untap step. Tatiova, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and draw a card. Consecrated Sphinx, whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2. Oko, I know a lot of people know Oko because of what he did to every format, but still legal in Commander. +2 creative food, +1 target artifact or creature loses all abilities, becomes a green elf creature. And then the -5 exchange control target artifact or creature you control and target creature an opponent controls with power 3 or less. Green Sun Zenith. This lets you search your library for a green creature card where with converted mana cost X or less, and you can put it directly on the battlefield, and you shuffle it back into your library. Mystical Tutor, search for an instant or sorcery and put it on top of your library. Nature's Claim, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Its control gains 4 life. Pongify, destroy target creature. Controller makes a 3/3 green ape. Rapid hybridization, same as Pongify, except they get a green lizard. Veil of Summer, draw a card if an opponent casts a blue or black spell. Spells you control can't be countered, and you and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and from black until end of turn. Worldly Tutor, search for a creature card and put it on top of your library. Counterspell, Cyclonic Rift. Return non-land permanent. Most of the time you're going to overload it. Finale of Devastation, search your library or graveyard for a creature card with mana cost X or less. Put it onto the battlefield. If X is 10 or more, creatures control get +X/+X and gain haste until end of turn. Light from the Loam, return up to 3 target land cards from your graveyard to your hand. And it does have Dredge 3. Mana Drain, 2 blue, counter and get that much colorless mana to your mana pool. Beast Within, destroy target permanent, its control gets a 3/3 beast. Court of Calling, which has Convoke, you search your library for a creature card with mana cost X or less, and you put it onto the battlefield. Fierce Guardianship, counter target non-creature spell. Crossing Grip, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Force of Vigor, destroy up to 2 artifact and enchantments. Seagate Restoration, you draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand +1. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game, or it also acts as a land. Lightning Greaves to give your creatures haste and shroud. Swiftfoot Boots to give hexproof and haste. Crucible Worlds to let you play land cards from your graveyard. Mystic Remora, whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card. That player may pay 4 to counter this effect. Sylvan Library, card draw. At the beginning of your draw step, you may draw 2 additional cards. If you do, choose 2 cards in your hand drawn this turn. For each of those cards, pay 4 life or put the card on top of your library. Rhystic Study, whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. And then, let's go Infinite, or also known as win cons. So we're going to go and be making infinite mana to win the game. Typically in either draw cards or actually pretty much just draw cards. First is with Bloom Tender. With Bloom Tender, you tap it, and for each color among permanents you control, add 1 mana of that color to your mana pool. You're pretty much always going to have green and blue. And you have Penman's Aura and Freed from the Real, which both are going to act as the same thing. For Penman's Aura, you pay blue and untap enchanted creature. So that's going to give, with Bloom Tender, gives you infinite green mana. Freed from the Real, same thing, gives you infinite green mana. Quandrix Prodigy and Basalt Monolith. Whenever you tap a non-land permanent for mana, add 1 mana of any type that permanent produced. And then you have Basalt Monolith. With those together, you get infinite colorless mana. Deadeye Navigator and Peregrine Drake. You soulbond Deadeye Navigator to Peregrine Drake. So when it enters the battlefield, untap up to 5 lands. You go and use the 1 in blue to exile and bring it back to the battlefield. And do it again and again until you make enough mana of every color that you could possibly make. Thrasios, Triton Hero, is where we're going to go and dump most of this mana. It's 4 generic, scry 1, then reveal the top part of your library if it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield, otherwise draw a card. And then, once you have your deck drawn, you put it into, you play Thassa's Oracle. And with Thassa's Oracle, you win the game. And now we have our lands. We are playing a total of 41 lands. If you'd notice, the only mana rock you saw this entire time was Basalt Monolith, and that's the only piece that goes infinite with Kinnan. We're not playing any artifact ramp in this deck except for Basalt Monolith. You have Alchemist Refuge, which for Simic, green and a blue, you can cast non-land cards this turn as though they have flash when you tap it. Ancient Tomb, the Simic Pathway with Bark Channel Pathway and Tide Channel Pathway. Breeding Pool, Castle Vantress, Command Tower, City of Brass, Immersion Zone, which lets you cast spells as though they have flash. Exotic Orchard, Fabled Passage, Field of the Dead to get those zombies. You'll notice that we're playing a lot of non-basics to give different card names. Flooded Grove, Gemstone Caverns, Ghost Quarter, Hinterland Harbor, Manamo School at Water's Edge. Where Manamo is good is you can go and untap Zimone and get another activation off of her. Mystic Sanctuary, Prismatic Vista. Then we have Rejuvenating Springs, Reliquary Tower, Strip Mine, Teleria West, which Teleria West also acts as a tutor. Waterlogged Grove, Yavimaya Coast, 4 forest, 5 snow-covered forest, 4 islands, and 4 snow-covered islands. So, the reason why we're playing a mix of forest and snow-covered and islands and snow-covered islands is because of Field of the Dead, just so we could have a better chance to go and turn that online. Something else that I wanted to mention before going further is that Penman's Aura or Free from the Real. If you have other ways to make infinite mana, you could attach either of those to Zimone and use that to go and draw cards. If you already have like the Peregrine Drake and Deadeye Navigator, another place to go and dump your mana instead of using Thrasios. But that's the end of this video. Give me your feedback. What would you have done differently? I really wasn't feeling this deck most of the time when I was building it, just because this is not a style I like to play, but it's a style where Zimone really led us. But remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and enjoy the rest of your day.